Good evening, everybody. All of you, please turn your videos on quickly. Yeah, yeah. Good to see my old friends, you know, senior friends. This is one day before exam session, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? My new friends have also come to see me.
We were missing.
Please, ನಾವ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಮಿಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಿದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿ.
I know, that's why I know my new friends can't, my new friends can't leave me for a very long time. So every day I'll go and irritate them. So they let
Yes, sir.
they yes ante nodi. So they like me to the core. Okay. Those who are writing in who are writing the exams now, special thanks to you for taking your time off the busy schedule and attending the session. Means a lot. In fact, I can spare like 5-6 hours of mine, but your time is extremely precious, like diamond. I understand what emotions you might be undergoing, yet you have pulled it up and then you have made it possible, you have made it achievable. Amazing. That's congratulations for that. Writing these exams are not really so easy. It tests CA exams, does not test your academic intellect, it also tests your emotional ability to cope up things when things are beyond or things are going beyond your control. Right? So good to see you all. Are you all happy? Are you all happy? No, not my new friends. I'm not going. I don't want to ask that question to them. But my old friends, are you all happy? Those who are writing the exams, are you all happy?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
You can be happy for two things. One, exams are getting over, like just 2 papers away. So you can be happy on that. Or they've made it possible. 5 papers have already five. No, am I correct? Four. You've written 4 papers so far.
4.
4 papers you have written, so you should be happy for either of the things, irrespective of how the exams have went. Exams have passed by, so we should be happy for that. Correct, no? So be happy about it. Exams have passed by. These exams are also going to get over soon, so then you can be very happy and you can irritate these people. You can come and irritate them. Okay. Yeah. So great. So additional advantage to all of us because we have additional days to study, right? So I think your exam was supposed to be day after tomorrow, but it's the last day. So effectively, you have extra time. Am I correct? My understanding is correct, right? So
Yes.
so yeah, you can effectively plan, strategize this and ensure that you plan for your ITSM, sorry, what is it? FM and strategic
SM.
management and audit, depending on what is your strength or how you want to split these days, whatever days are available with you, right? But good thing that we get extra time so that we can study better, right? So without wasting your time, so let's get started with the subject auditing and ethics. It's a paper for 100 marks. Okay, write the name of the title very clearly, that it's auditing and ethics intermediate course, right? So write your register numbers, your SRO numbers are not supposed to be written, your roll numbers, share it properly, ensure that you get the right MCQ booklet, ensure that your OMRs are with you, and then you mark correct series of the OMR because it's all very important. You can't make those grave errors in the examination, and then ensure that you take the right answer key and then question paper and then start reading. By now you already have reasonable experience in terms of reading the question paper and then preparing yourself for writing the answer. So anything new in this paper? Nothing new as such. All the core principles that has been told to you by all the other faculties holds good. So I need not. It's easier actually for me to speak because we are almost in a wrap up stage, right? So the only thing is now don't get digressed or distracted. That's the only request. Your exams might have gone really bad. It's okay. Your exams have gone super good. Fine. You have done mediocre level. It's okay. Irrespective of how you have done the other papers, you consider that this is the first paper that you are writing. Okay. So don't get carried away. It's easier for me to say, but difficult for you to be on the other side and then take it up. But you cannot do anything much about it, right? So if you think, okay, even if you want to think about it, spend half an hour of your day, all the lament that you want to do it in that half an hour and come back. You want to cry for half an hour, cry. You want to laugh loudly for half an hour, laugh. You want to hit something, hit something. For half an hour, do completely. And then come out of that. So that your mind is at least off one list. You tick one list. Okay, ಬೈಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು 1 hour ನಂಗೆ ಬೈದ್ಬಿಡಿ. ಅವ್ನು ಹಂಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ದೆ ಅಂತ. Then you'll be happy. then start studying for the next paper. So that's how you should plan. Otherwise, with that baggage in your mind, if you start studying, this also will not go in your mind. And very important, especially during the last few stages of the examination. So don't leave, right? I don't know how the other papers have gone. Based on that, don't think auditing will be like this, auditing will be like that, or FM and SM will be like this. So nothing can be predicted as such in these kind of examinations, right? So MCQs, I've told you it should be our strength. So by now, I think you have mastered it. The minimum target should be 26. All of you, you should at least target 26 marks. I mean, it's easy. You know, if you read the question carefully, slowly, you will understand it and you should be able to answer MCQs at least with so much of practice that we have made and so much of studies that you have done with all the theoretical background knowledge, everything is concerned. MCQs, in my view, at least for auditing paper, should not be that challenging. For practical papers, it may be, I don't know, but this paper should not be. And we have seen umpteen cases where we don't even have to read the facts of the case to answer the MCQs. So directly go to the question, read the question, come back to the facts only if it is so required. So you do that way, saving a lot of time, and then you can emphasize on writing qualitative answers for the 70 marks. So focus on the key important sections of your study material. Index. So strictly go by the index. So what is the control that we have or we should exercise for the next couple of days is that the index of your study material is very important. If you have addressed all the topics of the index in each chapter, then you will get reasonable confidence about that particular unit. So that's how you have to prepare. Otherwise, you can't measure how much have you completed in each unit is concerned. So go to the index, see whether you have checked all the buckets, right? So that is what we will have to do. Now, as part of your revision material, we have annexed the latest suggested answers question paper and suggested answers of the examination. So what you should do or what you can do, this is only my suggestion. If you want, you can implement it. Otherwise, it's okay. And I'm not going to guarantee, no absolute assurance of whatsoever nature. Being a person handling auditing can never give you absolute assurance. You take this previous examination question paper and do not read any of those questions which is asked. I've told you in the class as well. So the latest suggested answers, yours is Jan, right? So that means what? The previous attempt would be September. So take September 2025 question paper. Don't read any of the questions which is asked there. Descriptive part especially. Don't read it. I'm telling it correctly. I'm not confusing anybody. Don't read because those questions, the possibility of them repeating in your immediate exam is very, very low. In my view, it is negligible because there are so many questions for them to ask. They will not repeat, and they know at least students would have read at least one of the previous papers, latest ones. So by that, what did we do? We eliminated a lot of questions, at least in terms of remembering or in terms of making an effort to study. We have reduced to the extent of like 70 marks questions, almost like 10-12 questions we would have eliminated. So that will give us time to focus on other areas. So what should be your area now is those topics which are above or below the given topic, which was asked in the previous examination. So I did it for my exams. It has worked, and I've seen the pattern also almost all the examinations that have taken place, and I've never seen any question which is getting repeated in the immediate examination. It may happen in case of RTP. So previous RTP questions can come. This RTP questions would come. Recurrence is high. Possibility of RTP questions coming is high, but possibility of previous year examination question, immediate examination question paper coming in your exam is very, very low. So you can ignore all those topics. For example, in introduction chapter, they've asked how financial statements could mislead, how the auditors would ensure that financial statements are not misleading anybody. So you need not read the topic. So that way you will focus on the other areas, right? So that is one suggestion that I would want to give it to you. And then we have also given the subject weightage, I mean chapter weightage in the material. So but I feel that they're not following literally, I mean exactly as to what the weightage is concerned. Generally, sometimes what they're doing, they're focusing too much on one concept, and we see a lot of questions revolving around that concept. I think one of the exams, the audit planning program and strategy emphasis was so high. I also discussed with you people, and current batch students can also validate. So we saw how many questions were asked only on 70. like 3 to 4 questions were only asked on planning, program, and strategy, and that's very crucial. So if a student has missed out studying that chapter, it would have been a very costly affair. So we will not be able to really predict as to whether they follow the weightage, but fairly they still stick to the contents of the study material, and they ask questions in that direction itself. So just to have an understanding of how much I have covered when you address each chapter, for you to get that feel, the weightage is given next to the material. So certain points for us to remember. ICA has released a document called Saransh, which is a summary notes, very beautifully written document. You can go through that. Please, my suggestion is please go through that. Each chapter, once you complete whatever topics or whatever notes you have already made, prepared, or you're reading from the study material or your notes or caps notes or whatever notes that you are reading, after reading each chapter, go to Saransh and just glance it. So it is beautifully given in the form of a chart and pictorial representation, so that the memory is quite good. So you can go through Saransh, and always please write in pointers. I have told you, do not write in lengthy paragraphs, because the examiner cannot read so much and understand it, and they will not give you any marks until and unless they find those words in your answer. So what is that we are supposed to do? Write everything in pointers and underline those keywords. So they will, in fact, you've seen the suggested answers of our previous students also. They will put a tick mark against it and would have given the marks. So stepwise marks is there even for theory papers. So ensure that you don't dilute your language, at least adding those words like materiality, performance materiality, internal control, those charged with governance, pervasive, misstatement. Don't try to dilute it by you adding something else. Effect of misstatement, test of controls, deviations, right? And then tolerable misstatement. So there are all technical terms which you cannot erroneous conclusions. So like this, there are so many terms that we have seen. So please try to write as much as you can the material language, at least the technical jargons. So if you have technical jargons, then you should be able to get the marks. And then don't think that number of marks the question is asked for would decide how much I should write. It is not like that. A 4 mark question can be asked for about half a page, whereas 5 marks question can get concluded in 3 lines. So it's a, let's say sometimes they ask you to write definitions, those charged with governance. Even if you want to write something, there's nothing that you can't write beyond 3 lines. So they've asked you that question, so just restrict it to what is being asked. Don't write introduction, all those things. It doesn't fetch even a single mark. You're simply wasting your time as well as the examiner's time. So keep your answers in pointers, keep it to the point, don't beat around the bush. Start. How do we start? We generally start with quoting respective standards on auditing, or accounting standard, or Companies Act, CARO, or any other act which is relevant to the question that is asked for. So start with that and directly take the question. Now, how do we read the question? The last 2 lines of the question has to be emphasized more, because that sufficiently provides you the information as to what the question wants you to write. So the first few lines are all fillers, just to keep your concentration digressed. They add so many unrelated, unwanted stuff. Only the last 2 lines, if you read, and the last paragraph, basically the last sentence of the question, would sufficiently provide you the clarity as to what you should write. This is a bigger question. All of us will have, what is that I should write for this question? I'm not able to understand. The starting trouble will be there. So that's the reason why you need to read the last 3 lines or the sentences of the last sentence of the question. So which dictates you as to what has to be done. And my suggestion is to start with those questions which revolves around governance, ethics, and professional principles, fundamental principles. Audit evidence, generally they ask tricky questions. That is the pattern. If you see question number 1, generally it is based on audit evidence topic, and it's not straightforward in nature. Suddenly they may ask you something else, because audit evidence is a hard principle, and they also know that all students would have studied audit evidence properly. So that's why they make it a bit tricky. Audit evidence can be tricky. Chapter 1 can be tricky. I'm telling you, because chapter 1 is basics. So they know that every student would have read, but you may have missed out certain nuances in that chapter. Like, for example, financial statements could mislead anybody. How does the auditor ensure that it is not so? That is something which students may have missed it, because it comes in the introduction pages. Right? So you need to focus on those type of topics, like scope of audit. What is not included in scope of audit? Everybody would have read what is scope of audit, but generally people miss out reading what is not included in scope of audit. Audit is in the nature of investigation. So there are practical and legal limitations on the part of the auditor to obtain audit evidence. So those type of questions are picked from the in-between paragraphs and a question is framed. So first chapter, even though you know, please don't ignore it. Please don't be careless when you read it. Read to the point, read all the major aspects where whatever we have highlighted. Wherever there are pointers, the above 2-3 lines and the below 2-3 lines is something that we have to read. Sometimes you may also get what are the advantages of audit. Questions can be as basic as advantages also. So don't leave any of the topic in this unit. And then there are a few concepts which are very technical in nature where they tend to keep it a bit simple. Like for example, sampling. There are technical aspects to it. So if you read it, only then you can answer. So you should know what are the topics that I have to go through compulsorily. Whether will I be able to answer without reading it. Even if you, let's say, if not read fundamental principles of professional ethics or those threats to independence, you can still write the answer, isn't it? Even if I ask you to, if I give you a question now, you have not read audit, you have completely been out of the subject context, so you will still be able to answer integrity, professional competence, due care, objectivity. It's very basic, and questions are very simple also. So I can start with that. And assertions topic, right? We have read in detail, but you have to go through once again so that you're clear 100%. Assertions. A question can be as simple as identifying which assertion is behind this transaction. What is the assertion the auditor is trying to test? So those type of topics is something that you need to really make it very clear today, tomorrow, whenever you study, so that it becomes easier. And then any question relating to accounting, law, taxation will be asked, but just give auditor's perspective. How do you give auditor's perspective? Just by writing, auditor will verify, auditor should see, auditor should ensure, and then write whatever you know about accounting. Like for example, they may ask you to value about a valuation of inventory question. So you have to do all the calculations, but just write auditors will have to check this. That's all is that they're looking out for. A buyback question is asked. So you have to write everything as per the provisions of companies, right? Just that you have to add the auditors will have to ensure, and it makes up to your answer. So with that, let's go and discuss the chapter specific aspects. Are you all there with me?
Present,
You all,
sir.
so an assertion is that you all remember the topic. You all remember the subject. Yes? Is there any misstatement in this assertion made by you all?
No, sir, no mistake, sir.
No, not my new friends. Their statement is full of misstatement. It's adverse opinion. I'm asking about those who are writing the exams. So the assertion is valid? Yes or no? Hey, what my
Yes,
new
sir, we'll give written representation, sir.
A written representation does not constitute sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. It has to be corroborated with other audit evidence obtained independently by the auditor. One of the important audit techniques is inquiry. That is what I am doing. If inquiry points does not provide me reasonable answers or it questions the reliability, then I will be professionally skeptical. You understand, Nikhil?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, so let's start. So if this material is there with you, or it will be circulated.
The R2R, sir, it will be circulated after the session.
Okay, it will be circulated with you all. So now let's see. So this is this is my indicative order. Okay, if I were to be the student, I would read it in this order. So if you want to read from audit evidence, SQC1, and then come to any other chapter of your choice, you can do it. But I've fairly kept it the way I have explained you these topics. Okay, so I find it more relevant. So first, in introduction chapter, objectives are very important. Two objectives: reasonable assurance on the financial statements, whether they are free from material misstatements, whether due to fraud or error, and to express an opinion thereon, and to communicate and report in accordance with the requirements of SA. Sometimes they may ask you, auditor has signed the audit report without verifying the records. Do you think the auditor has fulfilled the objectives? That means they are asking you to write the objectives of audit. So you just have to write as per the provisions of, as per SA 200, oral objectives of an independent auditor. The auditors are required to verify, the auditor is required to obtain reasonable assurance as to whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to error or fraud, and thereby enabling the auditor to express an opinion on the financial statements. Then they're prepared in all material respects in accordance with AFRF, then to report and communicate in accordance with the requirements of SAs. Then inherent limitations to the audit. Very important. Nature of financial reporting, nature of audit procedures, future events. Audit is not in the nature of investigation, timeliness of financial reporting, and the balance between benefit and the cost of the information. Here, they may not ask you directly to write the inherent limitations to an audit. They may ask you to explain either of the topics. Like, for example, nature of audit procedure is an inherent limitation to it. Please explain. So that is where we have to write the practical and legal limitations. So what are the practical limitations? Auditor is not an expert in authenticating the documents. Auditor may not be given information completely and intentionally. Auditor does not have superpowers like powers of seizure, access to the records. So all these make it difficult on the part of him to obtain audit evidence. Then differences between reasonable assurance and limited assurance engagement, very important. So reasonable assurance engagement, what is it? It is high but not absolute level of assurance. Limited assurance engagement provides assurance level lower than reasonable assurance. What is an example for reasonable assurance engagement? Audit is an example. For limited assurance engagement, review is an
Review.
example. Reasonable engagement requires the auditor to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence by performing elaborate procedures. Whereas here, to draw reasonable conclusions, here the auditor is required to perform audit procedures to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence to draw reasonable conclusions. There also, the auditor is required to perform audit procedures, review procedures to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidence to obtain limited conclusions. So that is reasonable conclusions and limited conclusions. That is very important. Next, examples of other assurance engagements is something that we have to know. The examples are very crucial. SREs, SAEs, SRS. They are put together called engagement and quality control standards. Standards on auditing, standards on review, engagement, related services, and other assurance engagements. Examples are very important. It can be asked in MCQ. And then what is the purpose of having engagement and quality control standards? So there is one section like what does standards ensure? Standards ensure audit quality. Standards equip professionals with knowledge. Standards ensure that the practices are at par with the global practices. So all those points, purpose of having engagement quality control standards, scope of audit, very important. Here what you should especially focus upon is on the what is not included as part of audit. That aspect plays important role. After reading this unit, immediately we will go to chapter number 11. So here serial number, it's not chapter number. Please don't get confused. It is serial number, not chapter number. So we will be going through the chapter number 11, which talks about ethics, independence, and SQC1, quality control standards. So firms quality control practices, very important. Heal me. Human resources, acceptance of client, ethical requirements, leadership quality, and then engagement performance and monitoring. All these are very important. In monitoring, auditor will take a few completed assignments. There's one paragraph which I've made you underline. Please go through that. It's a possible area for MCQ. So I think integrity has been asked a couple of times. Maybe leadership or engagement performance questions can be asked. In terms of engagement performance, we have engagement quality control reviewer. Engagement quality control review concept is very important. It is compulsory for listed companies. The entities are required to ensure a reviewer is there, and all the contentious issues are discussed and resolutions are sought, only after which auditor report can be issued. And engagement quality control review is mandatory for all the listed company audits. Other companies, the auditors are required to, the firm is required to devise their own practices. Then we have independence, very fundamental principles of professional ethics. So what are the fundamental principles of professional ethics? Integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, professional behavior, and confidentiality. Integrity, straightforward, being honest. Knowingly providing false or inaccurate information is a breach of integrity. Objectivity is directly linked to independence, ability of the person to take decisions without anybody's influence. The level of objectivity that the person exercises is directly dependent on the independence that he is exercising. Then professional competence and due care. Auditor should be aware of all the current technical PET, professional, ethical, and technical standards. He should keep himself abreast with the latest developments, adhering to the timelines. Following the timelines is also a part of professional competence and due care. Due care means exercising diligence, not being careless. Then we have professional behavior. Any action of the auditor or the practitioner which derails or brings discredit to the profession is considered as professional behavior. Not responding to the request of the institute, or not responding to the notices, or giving adverse comments in public platforms, they're all the examples of breach of professional behavior. Accepting an audit engagement without seeking concurrence from the previous auditor is also an example for breach of professional behavior. And then confidentiality, a lot of questions revolve around this. Auditor should not disclose, practitioner should not disclose any sensitive information that he has gained during the course of his performance as his duties. It's very important, but unless a law or a regulation requires him to do so, he should not divulge in disclosing information. It does not only apply to practitioners and practitioners, but it also applies to the members in service. That means who are employees of companies, who they cannot be involved in insider trading and other activities. Then we have threats to independence, self-review threat, independence. So what is independence? Judgment of a person not subordinate to the wishes and the direction of the person who might have engaged him. Independence has two limbs. What are they?
Independence in mind
Independence in
and
mind, independence in
appearance.
appearance.
Independence in mind and independence in appearance. So we'll have to address. The question can come like this: independence is linked, having two interlinked perspectives. Discuss or explain. That means you have to write independence in mind and independence in appearance. Then there are certain threats to independence. Examples are very, very important. Please go through the examples and MCQs that we have solved. So we have self-interest threat, self-review threat, intimidation threat, advocacy threat, familiarity threat. Socially related threats are all familiarity in nature. Being too sympathetic towards client's interest is familiarity threat. Right? A former employee of the audit firm joining the assurance engagement is a familiarity threat. A former director joining or becoming a part of the audit team becomes a self-review threat. Self-interest threats are all financial threats that the auditor is subjected to. For example, undue dependence on client for fees. It's an example of self-interest threat. Contingent fee is an example of self-interest threat. Interest means financial in nature. So, and then what are the guiding principles which acts as safeguards to independence? So there's 4 points in your study material. Please go through that. It's very important. Then professional skepticism, it is an attitude of questioning mind, being alert, and critical assessment of audit evidence. That point is very important. A lot of us miss that. So there are 4 examples as per essay through 200 to explain what professional skepticism is. Audit evidence contradicts other audit evidence obtains. Information that brings into question the reliability of the audit evidence obtained and the responses to the inquiries made. For circumstances which may indicate a possibility of fraud, or facts and circumstances which warrants the auditor to perform additional audit procedures than those required by essays. That means you're required to do more. In all these cases, your professional skepticism should be activated. Got it? So, and then acceptance and client continuance, I think is quite important, is what I feel. But all heal me points, you should at least glance. But integrity of the client, I think they've asked because this has a connection to even planning also. Preliminary engagement activity, when you do that, that will be a part of it. Then we will take up essay 210 preconditions for an the essay 210 is very simple. I think you cannot leave this, and there are hardly any questions that can be asked. What is the responses of the auditor when there is a limitation on scope imposed? That means I discuss the matter with the management, ask if the limitations can be removed. If the limitations cannot be removed, see if it's before acceptance. Do not accept such an engagement if it impairs your ability to obtain audit evidence. If it is accepted, if the limitation is imposed post acceptance, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to discuss the matter with the management, determine the implications, evaluate the implications on the audit, including nature, timing, and extent of the audit procedures to be performed. Perform alternative audit procedures. If not, then withdraw from an engagement. Else, what are you supposed to do? Provide
Disclaimer
of opinion. So that's the limitation and scope. Premise is very, very important. that it's the responsibility of the management to prepare and present the financial statements in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework. They are responsible for the implementation of the internal controls. They provide the auditor with unrestricted access to the persons within the entity from whom the auditor considers this information, all the information that is necessary for the purposes of audit, and additional information that the auditor requests is what they have to provide. Acknowledgement from the management and the use of applicable financial reporting framework while preparing and presenting the financial statement becomes precondition for an audit. Premise and having financial statements prepared in accordance with the AFRF becomes preconditions for audit. Requirement of engagement letter in case of recurring audits. So when are we supposed to send engagement letter every year? Not really required unless it is warranted by certain factors. So that is something which is important. And when a law or a regulation in sufficient detail prescribes the terms of the audit engagement, the same need not be repeated. Instead, we can state the fact that such a law or a regulation applies to this audit and entity has understood and acknowledges their responsibilities. So this is what we'll have to do. And what are the contents of engagement letter? Objective of audit, scope of audit, auditor's responsibilities, management responsibilities, other information like fees, reporting deliverables. Very important. One question you can consider from this chapter. There was one test your knowledge. The article was not really sure as to why expected form and content of the audit report needs to be provided in the scope or engagement letter. There is one question. Please go through that. Why should we provide the expected form and content of the audit report, and circumstances which may make us to change our opinion needs to be provided as part of engagement letter? That rationale is something that you'll have to go through in this. It's a unique question. It can be asked. So please go through. You understand you understood everybody what I'm talking? That is what we'll have to specially focus. Then we will have to take up chapter number 2, which is audit. Next is differences between audit review and audit and investigation. This is actually a part of chapter number 1. So you have to go through this. Then take up audit strategy, planning and program. Advantages. So this advantages and disadvantages of audit program. Documentation of audit strategy. Very important. All the audits, what is that we are going to document in audit strategy, plan and program, and ascertaining the reporting responsibilities. So if you ask me, I have given you these are the topics which I am expecting to read more. But my suggestion to all of you is please read this chapter completely. Don't leave any of the topics except for those which have been asked in the previous exam. Please read everything from this chapter. I'm really scared because lot of questions are being asked in this chapter of late. So I don't want you to take that chance. So there's going to be a higher risk if you don't read this chapter. So please read everything from this module. Then my suggestion. So what you can do is probably tonight, at least you can cover 1, 2, 3 and 4. Up to 4 serial number you can cover. Is it possible? I think it should be possible because you have still, after 9 o'clock, you have your dinner. I don't know what is your schedule. At least if you can spend 1-2 hours, you can cover 1, 2, 3, 4 in my view. Just see how much hour is possible. Try to cover. If you keep 4 as target, at least you will cover 2. At least with that mind, don't study with the mindset of covering only 2. Try to cover all the 4. But if you can cover at least 2, it's really, really great. Okay. But if you're not able to, don't push yourself or force yourself. You can start afresh tomorrow or whenever you have thought of doing it. Then my suggestion is to take up Caro, because one compulsory question every examination will be asked. Applicability. If you see the previous examination, they've already asked applicability. Maybe they may ask in a form of a case study, considering the private limited companies cases, because that's where all the conditions would be applicable. Like Caro is not applicable for small company, one person company, insurance company, banking company, Section 8 company, and private limited companies having paid up share capital and reserves and surplus not exceeding 1 crore, turnover including revenue from discontinuing operations not exceeding 10 crores, and borrowings from banks and financial institutions at any point in time not exceeding 1 crore. All these 3 conditions are to be cumulatively satisfied for me to get the exemption. So Caro clauses: fill the cost records, take the DD, pay the PF of non-resident in INR because it's a credit balance, and all these questions will be asked in MCQ. So starting from fixed assets, inventories, 2 clauses are related to loans. Then we have deposits, we have cost records, we have statutory dues, very important, disputed statutory due, undisputed statutory due. More focus is given on disputed statutory dues, where a mere representation to the department concerned shall not be considered as dispute. And then undisclosed income disclosed during income tax assessments. Then defaults in terms of paying loans. That is a very important clause. Where loans and borrowings, whether the entity has defaults in that, whether they have been declared a willful defaulter, whether short-term loans have been used for long-term purposes, all those aspects needs to be covered there. And then we have private placement, preferential allotment, by compliance with section 42 of the Companies Act, and IPO and FPO, whether including convertible securities. Okay, so that is very important, whether the funds have been utilized for the purpose for which it was raised. Then we have fraud by the company or fraud on the company. Both needs to be reported. And then whether were there any whistleblower complaints received during the year, and if there was any reporting made by the auditor in accordance with 143.12, whether any form ADT4 was filed, is something that we need to report. Then we have internal audit system, whether the internal audit the entity has an internal audit commensurate with the size and nature of the entity, whether the reports of the internal auditors were considered. And then related party transactions, very important, compliance with section 177 and disclosure as required by AS, that needs to be considered. And then we have Nidhi companies. What is important in Nidhi companies? If you're lucky, you can get a straightforward question. 3 aspects. Whether net owned funds to deposit is in the ratio of what? What is the ratio?
1:20.
It should be in the ratio of 1:20. Whether the entity has maintained at least 10% of the deposits in unencumbered TDs. And were there any defaults in repayment of loans or interest needs to be reported. Then non-cash transactions entered into by the company, whether section 192 is complied with or not, is something that we will have to write. And then we have material uncertainty relating to going concern based on the financial ratios, aging, and other aspects, whether the auditor considers if there is any material uncertainty relating to going concern, and then whether the entity is not in a position to repay at least its current obligations which are falling due within the next 12 months. Then we have clause relating to CSR, very important. 2 aspects: ongoing projects, other than ongoing projects, compliance, qualification by, and then was there any resignation of the auditors during the year, whether the concerns raised, objections made have been considered by the auditor, needs to be reported. Then qualifications made by the respective auditors of the group company, which clause and where is it mentioned, needs to be reported in the CARO. And also, for other information, CARO is not applicable on consolidated financial statements. Got it? So in fact, I've completely explained you about, I've run through the CARO related clauses. If I've missed out anything, please go through. Okay. Then take up audit reporting, very important. 700, nothing much to learn in 700 except for the format. What you need to know is about UDIN, unique document identification number. This has to be generated by auditors on any certificate, documents, audit and assurance functions that he is responsible for within 60 days from the date of auditor's report. Right? So that is something that we need to see. And then 701, definition of key audit matter. What are key audit matters? Key audit matters are those matters which in the auditor's professional judgment are of most significance in the context of the audit, and that the auditor wants to draw. It's fundamental for the user's understanding. Key audit matters is a section from those which is communicated with those charged with governance. Very important is what factors determine selection of key audit matter. 3 points are there. Areas higher risk of material misstatement, areas where it involves greater management intervention, areas which requires greater auditor's judgment. Like 315 is more, and then estimates are all there. These are the cases where it will be considered as key audit matters. And what are the additional considerations that we need to take? If the auditor is expressing disclaimer of opinion, key audit matters should not be given. Okay, point number 1. Point number 2, key audit matter is not a substitute for modification. Key audit matter is not a substitute for disclosures that entities otherwise required to provide in the financial statements. Key audit matter is not a substitute for going concern reporting. Key audit matter should not be considered as separate opinion on the financial statement. It cannot be misconstrued with these points that I have explained so far. Got it? You're all able to understand? You all remember? Then listed companies, key audit matters are compulsory, important. For all listed companies, reporting of key audit matters is compulsory. Then you take up 705. What is important is the concept of pervasive and examples of what pervasive is. That is very crucial. And then that matrix chart, material, auditor obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, concluded there is a misstatement, material and pervasive, material but not pervasive, inability to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, determines the possible effects to be material but not pervasive, determine the possible effects to be material and pervasive. What is that we have to report? That matrix you remember? So that needs to be understood in essay 705. Then 710 is about comparative information and corresponding figures. Definition of both comparative corresponding figure and comparative financial statements is important. What you can expect is auditor's opinion shall not refer to corresponding figures. Generally, his opinion is only with respect to current period figures. So what are the exceptions to the rule where the auditor's opinion shall also refer to corresponding figures? Please go through that. 720 is not there. Other information. Then 570, indicators, operational, financial and other conditions, which highlights the events or conditions that may cast a significant doubt on the entity's ability to continue as going concern. What is it called? What is this called?
Material uncertainty.
Very good. Material uncertainty. So what happens when auditor encounters material uncertainty? Reporting, very important. If the going concern assumption is inappropriate, entity prepares financial statements in accordance with going concern, then straight away adverse opinion. If the going concern assumption is appropriate and the entity discloses the material uncertainty in the financial statements, then unmodified opinion, material uncertainty paragraph. If going concern assumption is appropriate but a material uncertainty exists, but the financial statements do not adequately disclose the facts, then qualified opinion and no material uncertainty paragraph. Because the moment you give material uncertainty paragraph, you need to specifically state that your opinion is unmodified. So you cannot use material uncertainty paragraph when you are expressing modified opinion with regards to going concern. And there's one section which talks about where the cash flow projection is important in the assessment whether the entity continues as a going concern. Please go through that and additional audit procedures that we will have to perform with respect to 570. Right? Then take up 560. These are all interconnected standards. That's how we have addressed also in the class, if you remember. So what is 560? Subsequent events connected to AS4, events occurring after the balance sheet date. So subsequent events are those events which take place from the date of the balance sheet till the date of the auditor's report, and the fact that comes to the auditor's attention after the date of the auditor's report. What is the concern? If there are any events or information that the auditor was previously aware of, would not have given the opinion that he has expressed, discuss the matter with the management as to how they address. If the entity is agreeing on amending the financial statements, carry out the audit procedures on the amended financial statements and issue an amended auditor's report factoring in this. That's all. So you need to be careful about certain examples that they give. So it's like adjusting events and non-adjusting events as per AS4. On that basis, you can expect. So generally what they're asking is in question 1, they're asking 560 because a lot of students don't read 560. They miss out. So please don't do that. Read essay 560, very, very simple. Got it? Then take up company audit related sections. 143, very important. I love you section. 143 subsection 1 talks about powers of the auditor, that he has an unrestricted access to the books and records of the entity, but he has limited access with respect to books and records of entities which are a part of the group, so far as it relates to consolidation. That's all. And then amongst other things, auditor is required to inquire certain points. So there are 6 points. These are called propriety elements under Companies Act. You can expect this question. I don't know, I have a strong feel that this may come in the exam. So whether loans and advances made by the entity on the basis of security have been properly secured and the terms are prejudicial to their interest. Whether transactions represented by book entries are prejudicial to the interests of the company. Whether loans and advances have been treated as deposits. Then whether entity not being an investment company, so much of its assets consists in the form of shares and securities have been sold at a price lesser than the price at which it was purchased, whether personal expenses have been charged to revenue account. All these are the items. Okay. And then whether shares have been issued for consideration in cash, whether cash is actually received. If not, the stated position is correct, not misleading. All these 6 points are also considered as propriety elements under Companies Act. So applicability of internal audit report, internal audit 138, you would have anywhere read in law. The profits before tax for all the public limited companies, deposits, paid up capital, turnover, and the profits before taxes. So deposits, paid up capital, borrowings, and turnover start with 25, multiply it into 2. So any entity whose deposits are more than 25 crores, paid up capital more than 50 crores, or turnover more than 200, not turnover, borrowings more than 100 crores, and turnover more than 200 crores are required to required to appoint internal auditors. For private limited companies, it's only borrowings and turnover. These two are the conditions. Important point. And interconnected with SA 610. Well, you take up risk assessment also, you will read, but connect it with SA 610. And then very important, 143 subsection 3, especially rule 11. There are 6 points to report by the auditors now on the material whether the company has disclosed the impact of pending litigations on its financial position in its financial statements, whether the entity has provided for material foreseeable losses as required by the accounting standard on long-term projects, contracts, including derivative contracts, whether there was any delay in transferring the funds to IEPF, whether the dividends declared and paid are in compliance with Section 123 of the Companies Act. 211E talks about round tripping. 1 talks about funding party. 2 talks about intermediary. 3, it's a limited audit procedure. Not so important from your exam perspective. Next is very important on the audit trail requirements. The accounting software used by the entity should compulsorily contain the feature of should capture the log feature, including edit log of each and every transaction recorded through information processing system, and whether these records have been maintained and retained as per the accounting records policies, and were there any instances of the information being tampered with, needs to be considered by the auditor. Got it? So all these are to be considered. Then you take up very important, the hard chapter, audit documentation and evidence. Very, very important, audit documentation. All the concepts in audit documentation is crucial. Assembly of final audit file should not be done beyond 60 days from the date of auditor's report. Audit documentation needs to be retained for a period of at least 7 years from the date of auditor's report or group auditor's report, whichever is later. Mind you that these principles are not provided in 230, but these principles are provided in SQC 1. Please be very careful. When you write the answer, please be very careful. And then audit documentation is the property of the auditor. He may at his discretion share the portion or the extracts of the information that is obtained, subject to the fact that he is also required to maintain confidentiality. So that is important. And examples of audit documentation. Important point. Audit program, issues memoranda, checklists, summary of significant events identified, all those things. What you should also read is about completion memorandum and its utility. What is completion memorandum and how does it assist the auditor? Very important. Please go through. I feel that question can come in your exam, either in MCQ or descriptive. Of completion memorandum is like a summary of all the significant events, significant aspects that the auditor encountered and the resolutions taken. It acts as a reference to all the information. The decisions that the auditor has exercised in the course of performance of his duties as auditor. So these are the aspects when it comes to audit documentation. Audit evidence, there are certain methods to testing methods, right? High value or key item, audit sampling, then selecting all items over certain amount. That is specific selection method and it is not audit sampling. Please be very careful. So that point is something which is important. Factors affecting sufficiency, factors affecting appropriateness, sufficiency, MRP, appropriateness, relevance, and reliability. So there are certain generalizations about the audit evidence, like information obtained from external sources more reliable, information obtained by the auditor directly is more reliable, information obtained from internal sources will be reliable provided the controls over its preparation is stronger. All of them are something that we need to keep in our mind. And also we need to focus on assertions here. I mean, when we talk about relevance, relevance is directly linked to the assertions, class of transactions, account balance, presentation and disclosure, class of transactions, occurrence, completeness, cutoff, classification, and accuracy. When we talk about account balances, we have existence, rights and obligations, then we have completeness, valuation, and allocation. Then when we talk about presentation and disclosure, it's a combination of both. Occurrence means all the transactions that should have been recorded have been recorded. All the transactions that are recorded by the entity belong and pertain to them. That means there are no bogus or fictitious transactions. Completeness, all transactions means that should have been recorded have been recorded. Cutoff means transactions have been accounted for in the respective accounting period. Then classification, the headwise presentation is correct. And then accuracy, amounts have been stated appropriately. So these are all for P&L items. So please be very careful when you're writing about assertions. See what item they've given you to audit, and then see whether it comes under OCACC or ERCV. Please be very careful. Existence means what? Equity, interest, assets and liabilities exist. Rights and obligations. Assets are our rights. Liabilities are our obligations. And completeness, all assets and liabilities that should have been considered have been considered. And then valuation, amounts are stated at fair values. So valuation, generally they will ask impairment, provision for bad debts, provision for diminution in the value. They're all the examples for valuation assertion. The aging analysis performed by the auditor is something that will address valuation assertion. Got it? Next, please take up audit sampling. A technical topic. Definitions are all important in audit sampling because it's technical in nature. Then sample size determination for test of controls and details. Remember, we have written one table. So factors for size, tolerable rate of deviation, number of sampling units in the population, the auditor's desired level of assurance, auditor's reliance or risk assessment takes into consideration internal controls, increase, decrease, negligible effect. You remember this? Hello, everybody. You remember it, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So that is very important. Please go through that. And then projected misstatement plus anomalous misstatement gives us auditor's best estimate of misstatement. Anomaly means what? A misstatement which is demonstrably not the representative of the population. Got it? So when we read audit evidence, I also want you to specifically focus on, okay, anyway, it's written below. Okay, next. Then audit of items of financial statements. I believe that Ganapati sir would have given you some important areas to focus on. Please do keep that in your mind. Especially Schedule 3 requirements, ratios, capital work in progress, trade receivables, trade payables, aging, and then disclosure with respect to share capital, promoters, borrowings, important, and then additional regulatory information which talks about Benami transactions, cryptocurrency trading, and then round tripping financing, and then also dividends, willful defaulter. All those are to be considered as part of the additional regulatory information. Please go through Schedule 3 requirements. Any amended aspect would be considered. So audit of items of financial statements. Now that you know all the other subjects, you can write the answers on your own, but just focus on important sections. Their overall reasonableness and quantity with respect to materials. There is one analytical procedure related question. If you see the stock composition analysis, ratio analysis, and then inventory turnover, that aspect is there. Please go through that. You're able to connect to what I'm talking. There's one question. How does the auditor verify the overall reasonableness and purchase quantity? It is a part of your purchases audit. Go through that topic. I'm expecting that question. And there are certain attributes that you would verify for indirect expenses like power and fuel. There is one section. What do you do? That aspect is also very important. You get it? Please go through that. All of you understand? Then take up audit of banks. What is important is NPA classification. Standard, substandard, doubtful, and loss, D1, D2, D3, and what are the provisioning requirements. NPA should be made based on the record of recovery, not based on the security. NPA should be borrower-wise and not facility-wise. This is very crucial. And what audit procedures are we going to perform with respect to advances, internal controls, and then the reporting requirements by a statutory auditor, central statutory auditor of banks, that is List G. Remember List G abbreviation, long form audit report. Long form audit report needs to be filed within what date?
30th June.
30th June of the following year. That needs to be there. Then list I is about internal financial controls, SLR compliance, then treasury operations, Gilani and Ghosh committee recommendations, then irregularities note, IRAC, compliance with IRAC norms, and then irregularities noticed, and then in case of rural banks, adverse deposit to credit ratio. These are the additional reports that the auditor is required to provide, right? So, and then risk management policy for a bank. I'm expecting this also. Every attempt I'm telling, but it's not coming. I don't know why. It's important. Our ICMR, remember, risk management policies is what the banks are required to implement. Oversight by those charged with governance, identification, measurement, monitoring the risk factors, then monitoring the controls, and then reliable information systems. Remember, these are the points that we need to keep in our mind. Then audit in automated environment, very important. IT general controls, application controls, and IT dependent controls. Examples for IT general controls, application controls, and IT dependent controls. Relationship between application controls and IT dependent controls, and what are the risks that could arise from the use of IT. There is one complete section. What risks could arise from the use of IT? You remember? That has to be read properly. Examples for all these controls are important. IT general controls, what examples come? Application controls, what examples come? And cats and dogs. Cat we have to discuss. I'm not addressing you as cats and dogs. Don't take it that way. Computer assisted audit techniques, data analytics. These two are very important. Go through tapping vast amount of electronic data and obtaining meaningful information from them is considered as data analytics. What are the advantages and what happens if these IT risks are not mitigated? That aspect needs to be read. Then analytical procedures, very important. Definition of analytical procedure. Analytical procedure means evaluation of plausible relationship between financial and non-financial data and investigating the differences. So that is important. And if you read Spain-Da factors properly, you can answer most of the questions which surrounds around analytical procedures. What are the factors that impact analytical procedures? Source of the data, predictability, availability, inherent risk, nature of assertion, disaggregation of data, and account type. So these are all the factors which affects the use of analytical procedures. You got it? Everybody are there with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Next, this topic, audit of different types of entities. You should do a smart study with respect to this topic. So whatever points I've mentioned here, propriety audit, especially government audit against rules and orders, audits of sanctions, audit against provision of funds, propriety audit, performance audit, all of them are important. It can be asked in MCQ. If you are unlucky, they may ask you one entire case study based on this government company audit. Please go through, don't take chance. And then contents of audit report of C&AG submitted to the parliament is something that you need to read. And then what are the provisions with respect to C&AG in case of government company? 143 subsection 5, 6 and 7 issue directions, cost test audit and supplement or comment upon the audit reports. Those 3 sections are to be read. And then cooperative society, all sections relating to audit, multi-state cooperative society and normal cooperative society, sections relating to audit is important. LLP, forms that are to be filed, Form 8 and Form 11. Form 11 needs to be filed before 30th of May. Form 8 needs to be filed before 30th of October, 6 months, within 6 months, within 2 months. Statement of solvency is form number 8, annual return, form number 11. And what are the audit provisions? When will an LL be required to get itself audited is something that you'll have to go through. You get it? Then we have certain independent standards that we'll have to study. SA 299, joint and several responsibility of joint auditors, where both auditors are equally responsible for, where individual auditor is responsible for. So this is there, I think, in chapter number 8 as part of audit report. So you can go through that section. And also advantages of joint audit. It's quite simple for you to write. You go through that. 550, significant transactions outside entities business is not there for you, but I suggest you to go through that. And records and documents to check for related party transactions. There's one question and answer given in your study material. Just glance that. Entities income tax return, life insurance policies taken, documents filed with regulatory authorities, security exchange, all of them will be considered by the auditor to identify the related party. Then external confirmation, very important. I'm expecting one analytical based question on the definitions: non-response, exception, positive confirmation, negative confirmation. You remember all these things? So any question relating to that may come. Where management, I think this time they may ask you 505 because it's been quite some time that they've asked on this. You may get a question from 505. And then management's refusal to send confirmation request. What should be the auditor's response? Designing the confirmation request and use of negative confirmation as the sole substantive audit procedure. What concerns we need to have? Those 4-5 points are to be satisfied. Only then he can use negative confirmation as the sole substantive audit procedure. Then 320, materiality benchmark. What are the factors which affects the use of materiality? Benchmark. Volatility, the items which the users tend to focus upon, relevance of the information, auditor's understanding, all those things would be the answer. Then concept, what is the definition of performance materiality is something that we need to understand. Clear? Now here, please also focus what are the assumptions that the auditor can make with respect to materiality. Please make a note of this. I am having some feeling that this might be asked. What are the assumptions that can be made while determining the materiality by the auditor? So that is something that we'll have to go through. And then 501, inventories, litigation and claims, and segment information. Auditor unable to attend the inventory verification. And what are the factors that he should consider for planning the attendance of the inventory? Litigation claims, what are the audit procedures? Segment reporting, what are the principles that the auditor should keep in the mind? Already know about AS17, right? So you can write everything with respect to segment information. You can write, no? You'll write, no? Hello? You all will write, right? Okay. Then 580, take up 580. Other than management, from whom the auditor can obtain written representation is something which is important. And then definition of what written representation. Auditors require management to reconfirm the written representation. What are the circumstances? These two concepts are quite important. Then take up unit number 3, the last chapter. Chapter number 3, but for us it's the last chapter. Risk assessment and internal control, components of internal control, definitions of inherent risk, control risk, and detection risk. What are the audit procedures that he would perform with respect to risk assessment, and advantages and inherent limitations to internal control. And then what are the documents, what are the audit procedures for testing controls, narrative records, flow chart, checklist, internal control, questionnaire. All of them needs to be read properly because it will be asked in MCQ or a descriptive question as such. So this is what we'll have to go through. And then I've given some definitions. Please go through all these definitions, which are very important. AFRF, sampling risk, subsequent events, engagement quality control review, negative confirmation. All the definitions that you can think of is already written in here. Anyone can come in your exam. I'm hoping to come. I'm hoping to say some of the definitions here being asked in the examination. So that's the run through of the overall syllabus. And then we have given each paper how the questions are, from which unit it has come from. But if you see, I don't know about other papers, you cannot expect a pattern. What questions can come for question, like for example, one question on amalgamation, one question on consolidation, one question on AS20, like that you can expect in accounts. But here you cannot. See, each exam they focus on something else. But mainly question one revolves around 500 because last two exams they focused on 500. But 300 was asked, 560 was asked, and 300 was asked again. So 300 is quite important. Then risk assessment was asked in 1B. So there is no such pattern as such that we can establish going through this. But it gives you a glimpse of how the questions were asked for. So preferred order, I mean, this I think you're all comfortable with. How are we supposed to address 145 to 2? What are we supposed to do? 2 to 210, what are we supposed to do? And then subsequently, how you're going to take up these questions. Don't stick to this timelines too much because we don't know how the question paper would be and what is your mindset. This is just an indicative way of addressing. If you have a better and workable plan, you can go ahead and exercise it accordingly. So no such, I am not really very concerned or very particular in terms of following this order. It's just what we suggest you to do it. And then there's one MCQ. I mean, this is a previous year examination question that is there as part of your syllabus. Okay, got it? So, with 1 hour, it was just like a trailer, how your 2-3 days would look like. I'm very exhausted. You know why? Just to run through the headings as to what is there. So you now know what is the volume and the depth. So please read. I mean, I have given you the complete glimpse of each chapter. I've made it as much as possible within my ability. I believe that I have done a fair job, as in it is not a waste that this 1 hour, whatever you have dedicated, I am sure that it should not be like a waste hour. I want it to be a meaningful and a productive time for both of us. Considering your time, giving your time to me is something which I'm really, that it's a moral obligation on my part to do the best and give you the best so that you excel in the examination. It's just a phase that you're going through. Are you undergoing something which is very unique? Not really. It's everybody has underwent the same thing. Don't feel as though you're doing something great to the nation. Nothing like that. Behave normal. Like just because you're writing an exam, don't start showing all your frustration in the home because they will take it because they know that you are writing the exam, but it's not really good on our part. Okay, respect what your parents, fellow people who are there at your home, because it's not you who are writing the exam, entire family is writing the exam. You have to get up 4 a.m., your family gets up at 4 a.m., food, everything is so much you've done and you've come this far. Now giving up is not an option at all. I mean, don't think about those things. Even if the exam hasn't gone well, it's okay. You have given your best. As long as you are satisfied with your preparation and performance, leave it, irrespective of what the results are going to be. So nobody is going to really bother at this point in time. All that it matters is, writing that last paper. And luckily or unluckily, I don't know, audit is the last paper. So you have to hold your emotions till the last day of the exam. The last letter or the sentence that you write, full stop, and then come out and show all your frustration. Till then, hold it. You're in a pressure cooker now. You're going to come out like a beautiful dish. We just have to wait. If you don't give the time to cook, then the food is going to get spoiled. So I understand with seeing your face, your eyes are puffed, your hair looks very shabby. It's okay. It's that's good if it's like that, because you're really into dedicatedly putting your efforts into making for this examination. I'm really, really happy. And I wish you all the very best. Please study well. These days are very crucial. Don't get relaxed. Don't consider that there is additional day. Let me just relax and take a break. No break till the 18th or 19th the exam gets over, and then only break. Full Kit Kat. Till then, no Kit Kat of whatsoever nature. Got it? On that note, I will again meet you. Okay, I will meet you again probably day before exam to hear how your preparations are. Okay, so till then, please study well. You eat well if you have not eaten. You sleep. My new friends, you don't sleep if you have not, if you have slept in the class. But those who are writing an exam, even if you have slept now, sleep well in the night time, because your sleep is extremely important for your upcoming day's performance. On that note, I will call it a day. Thank you all so much. We'll meet again another time. Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.